Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today doing something a bit bigger, a little bit different. It's a Montessori floor bed. Okay, and this one's a bit special. It's for my daughter at home, and you can see here on the illustration, I'm making it to be a bit of a knockdown, IKEA style, with some threaded inserts, 4 main panels. One is the fence that can come off and be removed and used on both sides, depending on the arrangement of your room. So let's get into it. I'm using this finger jointed maple that I picked up on Facebook Marketplace, and the first step I've cut all the long pieces to size, all the long rails, and then moved into the shorter sides and the vertical dividers for each side. And there was a lot of drop saw cutting for this project, as you can see. This guy, marking gauge, when you're using the domino cutter, it is the quickest, easiest way to mark out your 2 points exactly, especially if you're doing corner framing joinery, where everything's from a reference edge. So I've got that face there, is going to that one there. So I can just set that to half of this distance and repeat it, and it's a lifesaver and a time saver on a lot of those repeatable measurements. With the slats that I'm doing, to space them out, okay, I've taken the gap and add the thickness, and now it just is moving my center points across, and they should all line up perfectly for the domino cutter again to cut those quick fittings in. So this shouldn't take too long, because I don't have to keep looking at a ruler with a marking gauge and a bit of scrap to just apply that same measurement. Make things quicker, it's a lot easier. Like I just said, I'm using the marking gauge set to halfway just to mark out where the domino needs to line up, and it's going to save me a lot of time doing it that way. There was a lot to do, as you can see, and using the domino with that many pieces going into the end grain takes a bit of a toll on your forearms. So this is the corresponding end where those pieces are going to go, and to mark that out, I just marked using a spacer that I created, and it just made it really repeatable again, saved a lot of time and took the guesswork out. And now it's on to dominoing all those pieces together. I used a 6mm domino cutter piece with a 40mm dominoes to go in there, and it's just a lot more of this. Dominoing into those slats there, it's a bit trickier going into the end grain, a lot more effort required. And there's the dry fit there to check that everything's fitting, lines up nicely, ready to smash out the whole batch. I did a bit of sanding before I glued it all together, because getting in between all the gaps for this type of design afterwards with the orbital sander was just going to be a nightmare. So I'm just setting up my gluing, ready to go. Ton of clamps are used for this glue up, and there was 4 different panels to glue up. By the last one, I think I worked out the quickest way of doing it, getting the glue in. spreading it dominoes in and then clamping it all together. By this glue up, you can see I've kind of worked out a system there, doubling them up together, banging in the dominoes, and putting all the dividers in one go, gluing them up all in one go, saving a lot more time. And that one went from maybe a 10-minute glue up to like a 5-minute glue up after that. The next day I got back at it and unclamped them all, and that first day actually seemed to be the easier day compared to all the sanding and routering and just assembling of the whole project that you're going to see coming up. A little bit more sanding just to clean up the glue, and I do a bit of hand sanding later to really get into those gaps. Just a slight round over with the trimmer, and you can see there I'm about to cut that corner off just to make it a bit more safer. Those corners were the ones that are going to be exposed, so don't want the little baby hitting those sharp corners. So I've rounded everything there, as you can see. Now marking out the fasteners where they're going. I've got some thread inserts and bolts from Bunnings. I decided to clamp the two side pieces together to go right through both in one go, so all those holes are aligned. Especially there's holes where the fence is going to go into, which has to line up on both sides of the short side. If you can see, there's a little bit of a stuff up with the drills. I had to plug up a hole with a bit of dowel, but once it's painted you couldn't tell. At this point, I was able to take it home and give it one more light sand, going through the grits, getting rid of the dust, so I could get ready to spray paint. Today's the day. Get the sprayer out. Wagner W100. Pretty much came assembled, and it even comes with this stirrer stick. It's got the ratios for mixing the paint. And however you're going to dilute it. So I'm going to go 10% ratio for the amount of paint I'm using. Okay, let's get going. Okay, so what I've done here is I've marked some key measurements for the diluting of the paint. So I'm either going to use 400 mils or 800 mils. So I've marked 10% of each one, so 40 and 80. So I can just fill that up to a quick reference line and dilute my water-based paint for the spray gun. Okay, I've chosen a water-based paint because it is a kid's bed. I don't want any oils or anything. That's probably all safe. Still a bit worried. And water-based is just a lot easier to clean up. It's a primer, paint and primer in one. So I only have to apply the one product, a couple coats. Should be easy. The Wagner supply this stick, but I honestly can't work it out. The 10% for each notch. I'm just gonna use the markings on the bottle and my milk bottle with the preloaded volumes of water for 10%. Shout out, Ghetto Street Press. Thanks for the shirts. That was from James at Fix It Fingers Wood Jigs 21 challenge. That was one of the prizes I won. It did take a while to get used to spray painting, and you really do have to build up the coats. Not trying to smash it out in one go, because that's when you start getting those drip marks and splotchy areas and patchy areas, which you're just gonna have to sand back and redo. So I took it nice and easy. The first coat, you could still see the timber coming through, so reapplied every 2 hours, and I had to flip it over and do the other side as well to get both sides of the bed completely painted white. Okay, the day after the painting, and yeah, it came out pretty well, pretty good. I had to touch up a few spots, just some corners that stuck to the cardboard overnight and tore off a little bit. It's my fault. But yeah, it's time to get this thing ready to assemble. Is to put these spacers on the ledge there between each slat, and I've got some 140 slats that I've already cut that are going to fit in between each gap, and I've left myself 5mm wiggle room for each slat to get in and out, so it's not too tight of a fitting. So attach those, just screw them in, countersink them, and we're ready to assemble. Okay, so each slat is 140 and each gap is technically supposed to be 100, but what I've done is all my dividers are 95, actually no, 90. So it gives me 5mm either side for the slat to wiggle in. So I've cut this spacer to 150 or 145 for the 5mm each side, and I just reference that off first the edge, then off each divider, and hopefully it'll all line up in the end. So a lot of screwing now. Okay, so this is how I'm assembling it together. I didn't get much footage because I was rushing to get it done on time, and my iPhone battery, not my iPhone storage was full. So I didn't have time to muck around deleting things off it and seeing what I needed and what I didn't need. I was like, I'll just skip it. So I just bought these threaded inserts from Bunnings with the matching bolt. They're M8 size. Just needed a 10mm drill bit to drill out the cavity for the threaded insert, and just the Allen key to put it in, and the matching bolt. They come in separate packs, so you get different lengths. I've got the same length for all the frame, and then for the fence I've got a longer bolt that'll sit into that front section there. So it's about time to get IKEA-ing this together with the Allen keys. Let's go. There it is. Last thing to do is to chuck the mattress in and dress the bed. Really happy with how it came out, and the fence as well as modular, can be used on both sides depending on the arrangement of your room. And this was the best part of the project, seeing her enjoy it and gonna get a lot of use out of it. And there it is, the Montessori floor bed. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and have a look at some other videos, and check me out on Instagram for daily updates and some other small projects I do as well. Thanks.